We're living our truth now. Crystal, what?
Krista who?
Christadelphian?
Did you say Christian Dolphin? So are you from Philadelphia?
Welcome to the Life After Leaving podcast, an ex-Christadelphian podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Zinnia, and today it's time for our very gay episode. So for this episode, I've asked a few queer ex-Christadelphians to join me for a discussion of queer LGBTQIA issues related to Christadelphia. We originally had 3 guests scheduled to join me, but unfortunately, the gay man who is going to join us was unable to do so. So that's why we are going to have all women today. Today, we have Bec, and you may already know that she's a lesbian if you listened to her interview in episode 36. Welcome back, Bec.
Thank you. Very excited.
And today, me and Keturah are here representing bisexuals. Our listeners may remember Keturah from episode 3 and 6 way back in season 1. Welcome back, Keturah.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, welcome back. Okay, so part of the reason I really wanted to have a episode on this topic was I really wanted to talk about a survey that was done in 2023.
I've got it here.
Oh, she's got a printout.
I have a printout.
She's got her Bible. She's got her report. Shit, she's ready. I feel like I'm teaching a class and she's pulling out her textbook.
I've got notes.
Oh my God. Me
I
too.
believe it.
They're not
because
in print, but
no, because I couldn't use the computer, so I printed it all out.
oh, that's amazing.
So in 2023, much to everyone's surprise, I think, a survey was done by a Christadelphian group, the LGBTQ Parent and Grandparent Support Group, and the results were released under the title Welfare of LGBTQ plus People from a Christadelphian Background. I actually looked up this group on Facebook because I don't know much about it. I hadn't heard about it when I was a Christadelphian. It's very small. It has less than 50 members. According to what I could see publicly, it doesn't have any recent posts, and it appears to have been formed in 2023. So I thought that was interesting that this report came out right around the time this group forms, it seems like. So there was momentum. Whether there's still momentum with this group, I don't know. Of course, to no one's surprise, there was some backlash to this report by Christadelphians. I did find a public post in the Christadelphians Facebook group by a brother, I presume a brother, who said that publishing the results of the survey were, quote, not even a case of washing dirty linen in public. It is agenda-driven and is akin to fouling clean linen before the gaze of the whole world. Will Christ look gently on his body being openly crucified in such a manner, unquote. Yeah,
I did say that. Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God. Calm down, dude.
don't air our dirty laundry. We need to keep silent because yes, this makes us look bad, but no, we shouldn't change anything. Like that's what I'm getting from his message.
I mean, that's the overall feeling that people have. So
yeah,
not surprised.
And so in response, let's again turn in our Bibles to Ephesians 5:11-12. Sister Heathen Bec, would you like to read verses 11-12 to us? This is fun. I'm the recording brother now, I think. Or the presiding brother. I think I'm the presiding brother. Shit, this feels good.
I get to do the reading. Oh my goodness.
Come on.
All right. What verse was it?
11-12.
11-12. Okay, Ephesians 5:11-12. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them, for it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret.
So it turns out God wants us to talk about those bad things that are done in secret. It's a shame, you know? You want to reprove those unfruitful works of darkness. So actually, this report is in alignment with what Christians are supposed to do according to the Bible. So that guy was kind of out of alignment with Ephesians 5, we'll say, because as we saw, there was a lot of harassment, bullying, ostracization, cruelty, violence, and hatred, which was done in secret behind closed doors from the greater world, at least, even if it was well known within the ecclesia. And it's not in the fruit of the Spirit, as outlined in Galatians, which includes love, joy, peace, kindness, and gentleness. Those are the fruit of the Spirit that we were told to emulate. Instead, we got bullying and hatred as queer people. I will also say, I thought it was a little odd that this survey wasn't initiated by a support group for queer people. This was by a group who was prioritizing the well-being of their family members instead. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I did not see an actual support group for them. And apparently the whole report was about how they need love and support. I was like, all right, maybe start by supporting them yourselves. So I thought that was a little weird. It also seemed like from reading what they put out that they were kind of towing the line with the more traditional and conservative Christadelphians in the community, because they do state right in the beginning that they do not endorse same-sex relationships and that they are not affirming. Overall, it sounded like they were trying to be neutral, though, because they also said they're not challenging non-affirming views either. So they're kind of trying to be like, oh, we're neutral. But in my view, it kind of sounds like pandering to mainstream Christadelphians because they're not really offering encouragement and nuance for LGBTQ people themselves. It's really more concerned about the Christadelphians.
Yeah.
And again, I do acknowledge the limitations they had and the challenge that they were up against. So I understand why they probably settled on this towing the line viewpoint. And they said that the point of this survey was really to shine a light on this ignored group in the ecclesia and highlight that they need support. The problem I kind of saw right off the bat is by saying that they're not affirming, that brings us to the question of how can an ecclesia support their queer brothers and sisters when they're actively preaching bigotry and aren't being told to stop preaching hatred and hate speech? That seems like the first problem and is not a problem that was addressed in this report. It seems like they instead wanted to take a hate the sin, love the sinner approach. They want to maintain their harmful doctrines of saying, yes, it's sinful, but they also wanted to tell members to, just be nicer to them. They also wrote that the data seems to indicate it's the way Christadelphians treat these people in general that drives queer people away rather than the non-affirming stance itself. And I was like, yeah, but where does the treatment come from? It's a byproduct of the non-affirming stance. So it was kind of like they didn't realize the connection between those two or didn't want to admit that there was a connection between those two. But again, I don't disagree with the fact that, yes, they should show love and support to their queer family members and brothers and sisters in their ecclesia, but they didn't really provide a real solution, in my view. It did gather some interesting information for us to talk about, but I think it was a big omission to ignore the harm done by brothers who are preaching hate and even violence from the podium towards queer people. Mm-hmm. But again, it's like if you did say they need support for people impacted by this topic, because again, they didn't even say queer people when they talked about people impacted by this, they didn't make a support group for queer people themselves. So it was kind of giving me the same energy as like a neurotypical mom of an autistic child who refuses to listen to autistic adults. Like it's just a little tone deaf, a little self-absorbed, where they're like, oh, I'm centering the needs of others. And I'm like, it sounds like you're kind of focusing on yourself and what you're getting out of the situation. It just wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
So they kind of talk around the obvious solution of like, hey, let's maybe not preach bigotry and take a more affirming stance. And part of the reason to do that would be to stop pushing people towards suicide. But instead, as we've talked about throughout this podcast, something I kind of say over and over again that I kind of see is that it seems like they're always prioritizing keeping their doctrine pure because they really believe that their eternal life comes from loyalty to the truth as they currently have it. And instead, it ends up dismissing people's actual immortal lives here and creating a community that reflects the character of Christ, the fruit of the Spirit, all of those sorts of things. So talking about some of the statistics, it was pretty interesting. Some of the key ones are that, according to this survey, 31% of LGBTQ people who were surveyed were hiding their sexuality from their Christadelphian parents. They also shared that of those still attending an ecclesia, 88% were hiding their sexuality from their ecclesia. 90.8% experienced mental health issues just in the last year due to being LGBTQ and connected to the Christadelphians. That number goes up to 96.8% if you ask them for any prior year. And the only way that they found those numbers going down was when people left, their mental health improved. Yeah, because they did break it down by who was still attending, who had left for a lot of these statistics. They also shared a really sobering statistic. 11 people who were surveyed had attempted suicide. 56% of respondents had already left the community by the time this survey was done because of their sexuality and how it related to the Christadelphian community. I think all of us can kind of relate to that. And the one omission that we'll never really know is those 11 who had attempted suicide are the ones that were attempted. We'll never know how many were successful. But if that's the number of attempts, it's going to be much higher is the amount total, I would imagine.
And wasn't the number of respondents 99?
So yeah, it says it at the start.
I thought 99. It was like 80 something who were queer though. That was like 89 were queer.
Yeah, there was 15 from people who were not part of the LGBT.
Okay. Yeah, I knew there was a few that weren't. So that's why they broke down stuff for who was relevant to each topic.
It was 11 out of the people who identified as LGBTQ.
Jack, if you could turn to the appropriate statistic for us.
I felt like that was a really high statistic, and it was scary. I wasn't shocked, but
I was surprised because, again, it wasn't a ton. I think it was who had ever attempted out of everyone who had been a queer CD at some point in their lives, if I remember.
Yes. So it was question 15A. In the last year, have you experienced any mental health issues connected with being part of the LGBT and being connected with the Christadelphian community? Check all that apply. 11 people have not experienced. 3 people have attempted suicide in the past year. 14.3% considered suicide. There was self-harm, thoughts of self-harm.
I did an analysis of this, actually, and I should pull it up.
Go for it. Data nerd. Love it.
Because I did share this survey report with my family who is still CDs, Christadelphians. And it was around a time when another family member of mine came out as questioning and received this horrible response from their parent, another family member. And they ended up, the one who was coming out, because of the response they got, they ended up in
like psychiatric care?
Mental health, seeking. And I was like, oh, the survey, and I, crunched.
There's a link there, yeah.
And I sent it to me, and I was like, look at these results. And the thing is, I had sent them the survey 6 months prior, begged them to read it. Anyway.
Yeah. I have more suicide statistics, so it's still going to be a bummer for a little bit longer, because I wanted to compare it to broader society research, which there's a little bit more of. We so far only have this survey for as it relates to the Christadelphian community. Some research has suggested that up to 50% of LGBTQ teenagers have seriously attempted suicide, and about 20% are estimated to have made a suicide attempt. So I imagine that those statistics would skew higher in the Christadelphian community just because that culture is so harmful on this topic. And there's zero support that I've ever been aware of, at least in my time and from what I've heard with most people, for queer youth in the Christadelphian community, unless they are fortunate enough to have access to support outside of that community. And just wait until you hear what that brother in that video had to say about this.
Oh, I'm guessing it's going to be fabulous.
Yeah, I have a quote from the transcript because I couldn't even listen to him talk about this. I had to read the transcript. In the video, the Christadelphian said, "The matter of suicide always comes up because the psychologist and the psychiatrist who promote this trans phenomena say that if you don't let them be what they want to be, then they will commit suicide. That's a tragedy. But don't let them fool you. Don't let them think that this solves the suicide problem," unquote.
Oh my goodness.
So in other words, he doesn't give a shit if telling a gay child that he hates gay people as a grown man and they're bad and they're evil, they're sinful, they love darkness, whatever. He doesn't care if his rhetoric causes them to kill themselves. And while
he's so cool.
Absolutely cruel.
I have
Absolutely
so many
heartless.
words I want to say, but I'm just going to keep them to myself.
They can go in the Facebook group. All I'm willing to say is he can step on a Lego.
Yeah.
That is,
We can
that
safely
is
say that.
really nice compared to what I want to say.
And that's why we're going to keep it at that, because if we go off, we're going to be volcanic. Yeah. And what's wild is he's saying that supporting them won't help. These people are saying that you should let them be who they want to be so that they don't kill themselves. And he's like, no, that's not going to solve this problem. But there's evidence to the contrary. The CDC, Center of Disease Control in America, put out a statement that, quote, schools that have put policies and practices in place to support the LGBTQ youth have seen improved mental health and fewer suicidal thoughts and behaviors among this population, as well as among heterosexual and cisgender youth. It benefits everyone to have these supports. It also helps the straights.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
And he's like, oh, that wouldn't help. That's not going to solve it. And they're like, no, actually supporting them does reduce suicide. We have the statistics.
He would try and debunk that survey.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. They will probably be a new video in response to this podcast. They'll be like, that girl Cindy said this shit.
I hope there is.
He's going to be thinking of my name as he falls asleep at night.
You will live rent-free in his head till the day he dies.
Exactly.
So who wins at the end of the day? Him or
we do.
I'll see you in the kingdom, motherfucker. So these views by the CDC that are based on actual statistics and heart and empathy that's what this report is advocating for. They're advocating for support for Christadelphian youth and any members really who are queer. And interestingly, speaking of Leviticus 20, what's interesting, Bec turns, grabs her Bible.
It's almost on my lap at this point.
What's interesting is that it says that anybody who sacrifices children to death should be stoned by the community. So maybe Christadelphians should actually disfellowship this guy from this video, because he's okay with sacrificing a few of the children. And in lieu of stoning him, some repercussions would be nice, like not having him be a speaker and representative.
That should be the first thing.
Seems like the first thing.
Did you find it yet, Bec?
She's looking.
I'm finding it. It actually is weirdly cool to hear the rustling of the Bible.
I believe it's verses 2-5, talking about sacrificing babies.
2-5. Okay.
This parody of a meeting is so much fun. We're going to have some wine with this. Where's our bread and wine, girls?
That's all I got.
I had toast, so I'm good.
You had your bread of Christ. Good for you.
Yeah. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones, and I will set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because he hath given of his seed to Molech to defile my sanctuary, and to profane my holy name. And if the people of the land do any ways hide their eyes from that man, when he giveth of his seed unto Molech, and kill him not, then I will set my face against that man and against his family, and will cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people.
Yeah, I mean, these people are turning their children away from God by pushing them out of the community. So talk about consequences for causing your children to not be able to follow God. Damn. But I feel like God would not be happy with this guy being like, oh yeah, we can lose a few of the kids. It's fine if they're gay. And just sacrifice those ones.
They pick and choose what they want to believe and uses their evidence. But where it says it right there in the law.
We don't trust that part of the law. That's not part of God's morality, Bec.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Right.
I have to use verse 13. Just ignore that bit. Go straight to verse 13.
Yeah, and it's funny. They're in the same fucking chapter that they're already looking at. And I was like, huh, it seems like God cared about the kids, actually. But
They can't be objective. It's
if you look into the culture, there's so many verses that they use over and over again, and there's so many that they ignore over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they build their doctrine, is picking and choosing what verses they're going to believe in.
Unless they find this tiny little, like maybe even a sentence in a verse that works to prove their particular point.
Yeah, out of context Bible verses. It doesn't matter what that chapter's about, as long as the verse or part of it sounds good. They're like, yeah, we're taking that. It's going to mean this now.
Yeah, which is exactly what's happening in that Romans 1 thing that we're talking about when they were talking about, they're really talking about idolatry and how they didn't like these women priests that were running this,
this religious ceremony, that time, the pagan stuff. Yeah.
Those women had power, and throughout the Bible, I have a theory that ancient Christianity was about crushing women's power wherever it exists.
Yeah, I think that's why they hated the pagans, to be quite honest, because it was really influential for the women, gave women power and respect and all of that.
And it's brought up quite a bit throughout, like in the Old Testament, through the whole thing. God is often condemning these pagan religions that believed in a female deity. The Queen of Heaven is mentioned, Asherah, and many times. It's like
it's always been like the opposite. Yeah. And it's interesting because that's the one that's all about like respecting the earth and honoring the seasons and being like connected. And then in Christianity that we experience is all like disconnect from yourself, disconnect from nature, disconnect from natural cycles, all of that kind of stuff. And this world doesn't matter. Pollution doesn't matter because God's going to make a new one. Just don't even care about this world.
Why do you even bother cleaning your kitchen? You know, like why do you bother if God's going to come and fix everything?
He's going to take you away. That's not even going to be your kitchen. He's going to burn it in Armageddon, probably. You can go live in Jerusalem.
All right. Oh, yeah. The kingdom's going to be so great.
It'll be awesome. The episodes before this are going to be on the kingdom. You guys are going to have a blast listening to
it. Yay.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about the survey if we're good. Do you have more to say, Bec?
I just had a side note in that chapter. About the children being, sacrificed. Sure.
What do you want to say?
It's just I just did my first Bible highlighting in like 8 years.
Oh no, we created a monster. She's back.
And it's in red. From verse
Thank you.
10,
I'm flattered.
From verse 10 to 21, there's only one time that it mentions a woman lying with something. Everything else is the man that committed adultery, the man that lies, the man that takes. The only verse that it mentions a woman is verse 16, where it says, if a woman approached to a beast. But everything else is if the man takes a wife, if the man takes, his auntie or his sister or anything like that. It's all based at the men. Because clearly...
The men are the problem.
The men are the problem.
Being a little bit... This chapter is very sexist.
Sorry to the nice guys, but let's be honest.
Yeah, sorry, but this chapter is very sexist towards men being the problem. Whereas what's the only thing that women are mentioned?
Like,
one thing. All right, don't do this. Okay, cool, ill. But
we weren't planning on it.
Yeah. We're going to go over here and have our all-female orgies.
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah. But yeah, men are the problem. Sorry to the nice guys, but
yeah, there
still
are.
the problem.
I'm sure there's many that are very good men who listen and won't be upset, but like, come on. That's what the Bible is for. They're like, these men are out of control. Shit, we need a lot of laws.
Yeah, all the laws are pointing to men being the problem.
Isn't it funny once you look at it, though? Because we're always told, like, Eve caused men to stumble. She brought sin into the world, original sin, blah, blah, blah. When you look at the Bible, it's like, what were the men doing? They're the ones, like, murdering.
Adam was doing nothing. He was like,
It was Eve's fault. She told me to, and I didn't say no.
Because I don't have free will.
Yeah, and this apparently not.
All right, the
Yeah,
survey.
Yeah, so talking about the survey, did either of you participate in it? I don't even think I
Yes.
heard about it. I didn't
Yes, I
participate.
did.
Oh, you both did.
I
Nice.
eagerly did.
yes, I did.
Very nice.
Some of my answers are actually on
Mine
the
are too.
thing.
It said they
Yeah.
kept them all, but they edited out bad language. So if you curse, they said they put in 3 dots.
They didn't put my quote exactly right in one of them.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
So
Didn't like a meaning change though.
yeah,
so.
they just maybe simplified it or something
Yeah.
for clarity, maybe edited it. So what did you hope to gain from participating? You know, what was your feelings on it at the time?
I was really, like I said, I was really eager to do it. I was really I was like, wow, they really want to learn about us and learn how they can help. I also though said that with or felt that way knowing that it wouldn't really like just knowing that
You're
the
realistic
overall,
but optimistic.
Like,
Yes.
I was trying to
Okay.
hesitantly optimistic. Go ahead, Bec.
Okay. It sounds like both of you were kind of on the same page.
Yeah, I was optimistic and wanting to get my thoughts out there to be like, hey, this is a serious issue, but knowing that they're not going to change.
No.
And we'll talk about that. Yeah.
So, yeah, optimistic but hesitant into the fact that they would change.
Yeah, because I found, even in this report, they were trying to separate the behavior of people towards LGBTQ people from the non-affirming stance. But I think that those two are interlinked. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think they're capable of thinking that complex.
That's fair.
For the most part.
So one thing, and I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive, I spent so much time researching those Clabber verses, I did not get to really clean up this part more. But the report kind of pretty consistently encourages Christadelphians to be kinder without being affirming or challenging their beliefs as a Christadelphian as it relates to the Bible. For me, I have my own thoughts about this, but do you feel that you could truly feel safe in expressing your struggles and experiences as a queer person in the Christadelphians with someone who wants to be supportive, but who also believes that queerness is wrong or believes that God hates queer people? That's the problem that I think comes up from this. How do you trust someone and rely on them and get support from them with that underlying feeling not being changed, with no acceptance? For me, I think I would never be able to be close to them. Kind of like you were saying, Keturah, earlier, where it's like, that you couldn't talk about it. I don't think, like, if they don't truly accept me, I would not be able to be close with them. I was trying to think of a parallel, and I was like, it feels like if someone was really racist and they're like, oh, I can be polite to a person of color, but later tonight I'm gonna go to my KKK meeting, where it's like,
yeah,
like my beliefs are that you're bad, but I'll be polite to you, where it's like, oh, I can treat you with respect, but it's like, oh, there's a problem still. There's a problem with what you believe and how that shows up in the broader society and that person's life and how that person's life is impacted, because your actions and involvement in a certain organization, that's the parallel I can come up with, kind of becomes the opposite of supportive. I appreciate the politeness, but if someone's involved in the system that's advocating for harm against me and people like me, that is a problem for me.
Yeah, that's definitely the top of your mind in that situation, and I would not feel comfortable.
Yeah, so there's our honest answer as queer people, because that's kind of the point of the report, is they're like, oh, you don't have to change how you feel about queer people, but you should be nice to them and expect them to trust you.
Yeah, they tolerate to a certain point. It's like, yeah, we know you're gay, but go away.
That's the thing. There's no acceptance there. It's like, go over there.
Tolerate, but no acceptance.
Yeah. One thing that I was surprised about, I don't know if you would have heard about this in Australia or if it was in the UK, that's my guess, was that it was saying that some people were hosting workshops to educate people about this. And I guess that same-sex attraction is not a sin. I really don't know what the workshops would look like because I'd never heard of it, especially in America. One respondent did report that their parents have run a few workshops on this, so I guess they do happen. And it said it was to help people work out what they think and how to handle the issue, which is still kind of vague to me. So that was like their educational workshops that are happening somewhere. But again, I've never seen it. Did you ever hear about that happening in Australia, or is this maybe a UK thing?
It might be a UK thing.
Okay. But it seems odd because it still seems like the belief is just don't act on it. It's the relationships that's a sin. And then this leads us into, again, something that you kind of introduced earlier, Keturah, of the forced celibacy, essentially, where there's this isolation of queer members. So the idea that acting on queer impulses, having a relationship, having a family as a queer person is all sinful because you can't have that lifestyle, whatever they would say. And what was interesting was when you go to the Gay Christadelphians website, he wrote a testimonial about trying to do that. He really advocates for queer people in the Christadelphians. And he said, he was taught the same thing. He was told that being celibate is the best he could do to be in that community, because acting on it would be bad. But he said it was just awful. Like, he really tried his best that he could stay Christadelphian, but he said the main thing was it was so lonely. He had to keep rejecting relationships. And humans are wired for connection. Relationships are important for your well-being. And what's crazy is, meanwhile, the Christadelphians are so sex obsessed, and they're all like, this is all about gay sex. They're preaching about gay sex in the front.
I think they are. It's because the sex is so, like, taboo.
Yeah. They just want an excuse to talk about it, though. They keep bringing it up.
This is a safe way because it's like it's condemning. It's being like, we can be better Christadelphians than these people. So let's put hate on them.
And what's crazy is I even remember them discussing the sex life of one of my siblings at an Arranging Brothers meeting.
What? Yeah, you know what? I'm not shocked.
Yeah, like when I talk about sex obsessed, like they have a problem. Like that's not okay.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah. Let me guess, they were all men.
It's the Arranging Brothers. Who do you think it is? Wasn't the Arranging Sisters, let me tell you.
There was no sisters in that conversation.
My mom was there. She said it on the meeting. She's the one I found out about it from.
But did she speak though?
Well, could she have spoken? I don't know if they're allowed to speak. I think they can just like take notes and discuss.
I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised she was even allowed to be there.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
I'm surprised they even told her when the meeting was. Yeah.
Tell her the wrong date.
Right? Yeah, that's what I would expect. But yeah, I feel like they're obsessed with sex. But yeah, it's just the celibacy issue. It seems like it comes from a place of their own phobias and preoccupation with sex in general, let alone queer sex. And it's super dehumanizing, I think. And it seems like in practice, it is not sustainable. And they would know that if they talked to queer people, but they, as we see, generally their treatment pushes them out of the community and they just assume we just want to go be evil. And so they don't really reflect on what they're actually putting people through, even just by preaching the celibacy view.
Again, Paul was celibate.
Good comment. Thank you. Make of that what you will. But his was by choice. He's like, I'd rather spend my time acting like Robert Roberts, just going around preaching and talking about God all the time.
I think it's I mean, obviously it's really, really harmful. I mean, it was hearing this sentiment was one of the things that broke me away from the Christadelphians for good.
Yeah.
It puts gay people in an impossible situation if they want to stay, as Andrew, I think, was talking about.
Yes.
And it also implies that being gay is LGBTQ is a choice.
Yeah, just turn that switch off.
Yeah, it is impossible. I one of the things I didn't talk about in my story is that I really tried. I really tried to get the gay out, and it did not work. It really kind of backfired. It was is bad. It doesn't work. It hurts. That's
No,
what
it
it
doesn't.
does.
All it does, is cause trauma and pain for the individual and it's all people who are saying they're straight making the decisions. Like, how would they know? Let's be honest. Let's have them stop dictating this. The one good thing about these like workshops that they were talking about and how they were talking about like handling things and thinking about things was it seems like they were pro-education, which seems like a step in the right direction. And throughout the survey, if you look at some of like the responses from people, avoidance comes up a lot. And I'm guessing that a lot of Christadelphians don't have a really great vocabulary to discuss these topics and truly understand it. Like there was a glossary of terms in the survey because they assume that people won't know.
It's long.
Yeah, and it was pages and
I didn't even
pages of
wanna
this
read it.
glossary. Yeah, I skimmed over. I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm enough to get by with this report.
I can just imagine that just seeing that might just like have put somebody who wasn't us or wasn't gay, just put them off of reading the rest.
I'm sure someone was triggered by that glossary, but at the same time, I think it was necessary because I think for people who do want to understand, you can't really understand something you can't even talk about. Like it helps to have the words to start it. Like even with us, you have to kind of know about these different types of sexualities in order to identify one and identify it and convey it to other people. It just helps. So I think ignorance is part of the battle. So that's one positive, is a little more information for people. It's very like 101, like very basic.
Yeah, no, I did appreciate it. I know I was like bashing that, but you're right. And I did like it that they included that. I was just imagining one of my people in my old ecclesia reading that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of us know someone who absolutely would not want to read this report or would be mad just about the idea of it, like that Christadelphian in that comment that I read earlier about like, how dare you talk about this and make this public?
Yeah. I can picture my father being sent this and him going, what a waste of paper. Like, I don't need to know this.
Yeah, if you don't care, if you don't have the empathy, it's probably going to be not something they're particularly interested in. But I would say I can picture at least a few of my cousins looking at this for me. Maybe not, maybe a few of their parents, the older generation, probably less so. But I think when you get to some of the youngerish people like millennial and younger, I could see them being more open-minded.
Yeah.
Again, not all of them. I think there's a few cousins who would absolutely be pissed to see this, but I think I have at least a few who would be somewhat curious and open-minded enough to talk about it, look at it.
I thought of that this morning, and in my mind and knowing the Christadelphians that I know, it would be like boomers and up.
Yeah.
So those even older Gen X's, for example, it'd be like that generation up would just be like, nah, chuck this out, whatever, is this trash? But yeah, definitely millennials and younger would be more willing, I feel, to look into it.
Yeah. And then continuing on, it talked about how even if people were living celibate lives, they were still in fear of shunning, rejection, and felt the need to hide. So even for people who were willing to sacrifice that love and companionship, basically it's not even enough. The Christadelphian tells you this is the bar to do. If you're going to stay here, give up having a relationship and living with someone, having, love and support, having like a family of your own. And then even for the people who choose to do that option, it says that they're still not happy. They're still being shunned. They're still being treated like crap. And that does seem to be reflected again, too, in Andrew's essay. What was interesting was that his testimonial about trying to be celibate and his experience as a gay Christadelphian who has remained a gay Christadelphian as of this recording, at least, was that this journal, the Press On Journal, actually was willing to share this and let him speak in his own words. They didn't add in anything of their own, which was interesting. So there's a video and basically a transcript. So the transcript, I think, was on their website, and his videos on his website, thegaychristadelphians.org. But it was interesting that they actually shared that, honestly, for once gave a platform to a queer person. So that was kind of cool to see that while this wasn't the Tidings, while this wasn't the Christadelphian magazine, while it wasn't one of the big ones, this little niche journal, which one of my cousins is involved with, I think a second or third cousin, it's not super close, but I saw her picture on there and it's like, hey, I know her. That this one is actually giving them a voice. So I thought that was kind of encouraging to see that there is a subsection of Christadelphians who were like, yeah, this isn't cool. We need to talk about this. But also that different standard where he's being told you have to meet this bar and you have to give all this up and we still won't accept you and treat you like shit. It's no wonder people leave.
Yeah, being treated like even worse than garbage. Like why would we want to stay around that? And
yeah. And all the sacrifices you're being asked to make in order to belong to this community who's treating you like garbage.
Yeah.
Where's the incentive to say?
Yeah. Live someone else's life, try to be happy, but, you know, go against everything that's in your mind, your body, and do as we say. Don't do as you do.
Yeah. I mean, you had the most lived experience being kind of trapped in that situation, I would say, realizing your sexuality and being in that Christadelphian environment.
Christadelphian as a whole is a trap.
Well, that's the thing that seems to come down to that I kept seeing too was control. At their core, they're telling you who you can and can't have sex with. They're telling you, you know, what marriage looks like, what your role is supposed to be in the marriage, what your role is in the ecclesia. And so much of this just comes down to luck of the draw with gender, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's another way that control comes out. Because like I said, it does seem to be a high control religion when you really look at it. And while this may seem almost commonplace for us because it's so widespread that we're all like, oh yeah, of course, that's just what they do. I'm sure people in other religions and people who weren't raised in religion would be absolutely shocked to hear about how much pressure there was on people to live a certain way just because of their gender or their sexuality. And then keeping going with what are the options if people stay a Christadelphian. So if the closeted people don't feel safe, if the celibate queer people don't feel safe and accepted, do you think they could ever accept a queer family, raising children, if the mother or the father teaching Sunday school, doing all the normal things that heterosexual families do at the ecclesia? You both already shook your heads. So who wants to comment?
No, there is no way they would accept that.
Yeah, I agree.
That goes against the gender roles thing, which is like, that is the basis.
Yeah. That's their structure for everything.
The whole thing. And that's where they get their control from.
Yeah, they make the women be subservient, which gives the men power over the women. That's where the power dynamic comes in.
Yeah, so obviously when I'm saying they, I mean the men in the ecclesia.
It's the men who are the problem.
Sorry.
Okay, but would two gay men have more influence than two women? Would both men be able to serve and have extra power, both be arranging brothers, whereas two women would then have no power in the ecclesia, no one to help give them a voice in the ecclesia? Because if they did, if they tried to keep the gender roles while still being in their normal thing, that almost gives the gay men double power. Shit.
Oh man!
So the lesbians should definitely leave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But even being in a same-sex relationship, they didn't even wait like a couple months before they were already emailing me to be like, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you with a woman?" It's like, well, none of your business.
Seriously.
Yeah, anyone else, like if your teacher or colleague or classmate or coworker was like, "Hi, I need to know about your relationship with your partner," you'd be like, "What the fuck? This is harassment.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?" But then people are like, "Oh, that's just my church. That's just what they do. They just harass me."
They didn't want to know about the problems in a heterosexual marriage, but no. God forbid you're with a woman who treats you properly.
Yes, and I'm glad to hear that you have had this healthy relationship with a woman, because it was kind of devastating to hear Keturah's was such a negative relationship with a woman. I'm sorry, your girlfriends were awful, Keturah. You do not deserve that. But again, I realized that having also had a traumatic childhood, we are like conditioned to put up with that and not speak up and stuff. So I do think it's related to that.
I absolutely don't. No, it was not because there were women. It was because of my PTSD and the fact that I was groomed to be a victim by this religion. And that's how I thought that, it took me a long while to break away, to finally gain confidence in myself, confidence that I realize now, looking back at being in this religion, was taken away from me. I was not allowed to have it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think those are very linked. So I think that's very common. And it's good that you're able to grow and get out of that situation.
Yes. Me too.
And then I know that they were talking about, maybe ecclesias could support their queer members by having a designated trusted adult for queer people where they can talk without judgment. And I was like, first off, I can't imagine a single Christadelphian that I would feel comfortable with. And I've met a lot of Christadelphians. I can't imagine one that I would feel safe with.
Oh my goodness.
And also, what is this straight person going to tell me and coach me through? Like, excuse me, okay. So I was trying to think like what would help. First off, they have to be fucking gay. Like you have to have a healthy, thriving, well-supported person to model that and help get other people through the struggles. But if they've never been there themselves, they're fucking useless, to be quite honest.
How are they going to understand?
Yeah, what are they understanding? Where are they getting this training to do this either? It's just going to be what? The Tidings magazine, like their Ecclesia Safe program, be like, here's our view of the Bible and what you should do to prevent LGBTQ people from leaving. I mean, being upset. I'm like, And even like when I reported the issues at Manitoulin, they're like, this is the safe person you can report it to. And I was like, bullshit. That is not how that worked out when I reported that. They're like, let's hide this crime. So like, okay, well, what happened here? I feel like if anything, that would become the start of the grapevine where anything you tell that person is now getting disseminated as gossip through the ecclesia. That's how I see it playing out based on what I saw.
It wouldn't just be through the ecclesia though. Because the grapevine in Australia, you knew who to tell things to if you wanted it to spread. So, all the information you gave to this straight person.
Yes, this random straight.
they would know who to contact to get this information out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the week, your safe person is no longer safe. So
that's the thing. You would need to have people that really have the integrity, which I think means changing the culture where you don't have that gossip culture, which again comes down to, can they change? Can they truly change? Because that's a lot already that we're piling up of what we would need to see to make this dream a reality from these people with the survey.
Yeah.
Also, I never heard of any positive follow-up from this report. I heard the bashing from people who responded to it, but I haven't heard of any like support groups being started. I haven't heard of any policies being changed and implemented in different ecclesias. Has anyone heard anything as a follow-up to this?
They won't follow up with anything positive. They'll use it as a paperweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Tinder. I sometimes browse the like Christadelphian Facebook groups or the YouTubes, which are worse. Oh my god, the YouTubes are worse.
Yeah, I don't need to mess up my algorithm that bad.
Yeah, and it's like it never happened. I honestly think that the general Christadelphian population is not aware of it, and if they are, they skimmed it or just dismissed it, put it in the trash, like I said.
I wonder if this was really mostly just wherever the areas are where there was a little bit of support. Because again, they're talking about some places had these workshops and some places wanted to do the survey and wanted to support people. But I feel like I never saw that in the culture. And I don't think there was any strongholds, at least over here in America, Canada regions. So I don't think there was anyone to like team up and make something happen. I feel like you need a coalition of people in different ecclesias and like really putting in the effort and really putting a lot into it to make anything happen. Like even the survey itself was kind of passive. Like all they had to do was email out some questions, put it together and send it out, and then nothing happened. And I was like, where's the game plan? There's no like mission statement or plan or like meetings.
Yeah,
There was no link to join. There was just nothing here. And even they wouldn't take a stance on anything. Like it was very wishy-washy to me.
Yeah, they put it out and then it was silence.
Yeah, and so I don't know if there's still any conversations going on. Like I said, even the group didn't seem active that they had, it seems like, made right around this time. Yeah, so
it's kind of what was the point?
Yeah, in the end, like I appreciate the information. I love the data. It's interesting, but where's the momentum? There was none really to begin with.
They could have really pushed this. They could have posted it on all of the relevant sites or groups that I just mentioned. They could have, tried. Maybe I don't know, benefit of the doubt. Maybe they did try. Maybe they got pushed back and they couldn't do it. Maybe their posts got deleted.
And they probably didn't have the support from any of the bigger magazines and stuff to like reprint it and publish it. Those organizations are not sharing gay Christadelphian testimonials. I'll tell you that.
Well, the Tidings or the Christadelphian.
Nope, neither of those is progressive enough for that.
No, they're scary.
So looking at some more of the statistics in the report, one that I thought was really interesting was that 31% of the queer respondents did not identify as either female or male. They're like, everyone's a man or a woman. But it was funny that this included people who were identified as gender fluid, transgender, non-binary, intersex was represented there, Keturah, gender non-conforming, whatever else. And these were pretty incredible when you think of them coming out of the Christadelphian community that claims it's just men and women. Everyone is one or the other.
Oh, yeah. Was that an admission?
They were all in the Christadelphian community. And it definitely seems like that poses a problem for them when they preach that God created only male and female. And then this report was like, actually, we're all here. Everyone's in attendance. They keep preaching this cisgender heterosexual view, but even the reality in their own meetings and in their own community of people who are usually raised in this, most Christadelphians, whether they leave or not, is that that's not the case. But I definitely think that the gender roles are a huge issue for them, as well as the sexism, which comes into kind of the underlying stuff around the gender roles. Like, how do you change that? Because I've asked in a previous episode, what do you call someone if they're non-binary in the meeting when your language is sister or brother? Sibling Keturah, come to the front. They don't know how to conceive of their organization without the sexism in it and the gender roles.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, how can we expect them to accept us as gay people if they have so much work to do? Like,
they have so much
to tear it down and rebuild it.
Essentially, unfortunately, because this would be just one more thing to add to the laundry list of things that aren't working that we're just kind of hitting off and that won't make this work. I would say sexism, gender roles, add it right to the list. I don't think that you can build a supportive community for queer people unless you make room for them to have those identities and to let things be more fluid between who's doing different roles, who has what responsibilities, all of that kind of stuff. There's no wonder they're so focused on forcing people into one role or the other. That's what their whole hierarchy depends on, is conformity to that. So when I talked about that very few are affirming, that it was literally 2 people who said that they were in a affirming ecclesia. And I do wonder if they are together as a couple, because that would be really funny if the 2 people are literally one couple. I was not able to tell because like anonymous data. 63.1% said their ecclesia was hostile to LGBTQ community. Over half said that they do not feel safe at their ecclesia because of it. So that's pretty stark that only 2 even said that they were like in an ecclesia that was trying to be affirming to just accept them. But having over half say they don't even feel safe, pretty telling. Only 3 people said that they were openly out at their ecclesia. So again, it comes back to so many people hiding it. And only 2 said they were out in the wider Christadelphian community. only a single respondent said they felt safe in the wider Christadelphian community. I was actually shocked there was even one who was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how long that'll last.
Yeah. If you ever listen to
I
that
have hope
YouTube,
for you out there.
good luck.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, because just imagine like this person going to Bible schools. Like, I've been to so many Bible schools. I went to Texas, Colorado, California, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Canada. Imagine going to each one of those and actually believing you'd be totally safe and accepted as a queer person. That's like unthinkable across all of those different groups of Christadelphians in the whole wide world. I can't imagine it. So I would have answered no. I did not participate in this. I don't think I heard about it at the time. And then you said this was you, Bec, where it said that not a lot of Christadelphians knew that they were queer despite being disfellowshipped.
Yeah, that's
which
me.
seems so crazy. Why wouldn't they want to make a point of it? To me, if they're like, we're against gay people, we're having whole weekends devoted to this topic. And then they're like, oh, we have a gay person. And they're like, shh. I'm like, oh, now you're going to be quiet?
Yeah.
Now you don't want to talk about it?
Even members in the ecclesia that I was a part of didn't even know I had been disfellowshipped months after.
Yeah, and let alone the reason why.
Yeah, one sister messaged me and she's like, oh, we haven't seen you in a while. Crickets, man, crickets.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was disfellowshipped. I never heard from her again. But yeah, even one of my ex-friends, her grandmother said to her, do you know why Bec's been disfellowshipped?
Wow.
So yeah,
and was she a member of that meeting still at that time that had disfellowshipped you, and she didn't even know from her own
She
meeting?
didn't even know why.
Wow. Talk about the ABs and their power trip. They didn't even tell their members. And it sounds like especially the women did not know.
Yeah, the women did not know.
That the men just made this decision without talking to them.
Yeah. I did get one nasty message, and that was from a member's sister who lived in Perth.
Okay.
Random. Which is the other side of the country, mind you.
Yeah.
For those who don't know. So, yeah, I did get a message from her, and she's like, how dare you do this? Your mother would be ashamed. My mother was dead at that time. I'm like, how dare you bring up my mother? I'm like, how dare you? My mother would be proud that I got out of the relationship I was in and away from you terrible people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that wasn't until like 6 months after me being disfellowshipped. I got
she
that
finally
message.
Heard about it. She was like, oh my God.
It finally reached the other side of the country.
Well, 6 months is actually slower than expected, but as you said, it was swept under the rugs. That's how long it took.
Was, yeah.
They didn't want people to know.
Yeah.
I really couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, there's some Christadelphians who still ask my ex-husband how I am, and he's like, we're not married.
You can ask her yourself.
Here's her number. Call me anytime. Yeah, so I do get messages from my ex-husband to be like, oh, this Christadelphian said to say hello. Why? Why do they want to say hello to the lesbian? Like,
you love the lesbians now? Do you want us back? We can make it really fabulous up in that ecclesia.
Yeah.
I don't think you can handle all of us back again.
Let's hang up all the rainbows again and,
Yeah, let's bring the rainbows back to God.
Everyone has to have a rainbow umbrella and wear a pin.
Yes. Some earrings.
That was one thing that I saw in there was the one person said they weren't allowed to wear their earrings, but someone had said they were wearing pins to show that they were like allies or whatnot. And I was like, where was this? I'm guessing the UK again, because that's where the Gay Christadelphians website is based out of and all that. So, but again, we're hardly getting anyone on the podcast who will talk about what's going on in the UK. So we don't have
people stand up, please.
Please tell us what's going on, because we're curious. Is there positive news from out there? Like,
are you guys okay? Like, let us know.
They've been very quiet. We have yet to have a woman on from the UK at all. So,
blink 1 for you're not okay, and 2 for yes, you're okay.
Yeah. Are things so bad that you can't talk about it, or are things okay and you don't feel the need to talk about it? Because those are two very different situations.
Yeah, we're worried about you.
We're wondering where you're at. Another thing from the survey that was maybe not surprising but disappointing, the high amount of slurs and jokes reported about LGBTQ people made by Christadelphians. 89.3% reported that they heard slurs or jokes by Christadelphians. One Christadelphian was quoted as saying, quote, "They should all just kill themselves," unquote.
I saw that.
Yep, some said they were kicked out of their homes. In a soon-to-be-released episode, so you two haven't heard it yet, but Steve came back on the podcast, and he mentions hearing someone delight in the idea of killing them all when Jesus returns. Like, specifically, gleeful.
Oh, my God.
Kill them, yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, I don't think that person is following the commandments of Christ. So
the law of Christ, the fruit of the Spirit.
I don't think they have morality in general in a secular way. If they, you know, like,
I thought we weren't supposed to murder, but he's like, no, I'm excited about the murder part.
So awful.
Yeah, and so that's what they're up against with this report. People who have such a pure hatred that they either want us to kill ourselves or want to kill us themselves, which is pretty dark. So that's, I think, good examples of how widely accepted and common the aggressive homophobia is.
Watch out, that person's on the next true crime episode.
They have their own Netflix special. They'd be like, in the Christadelphian cult, hatred was simmering below the surface. One day he snapped. Shit. And I'll be like, on the true crime episode this week. Shit. We got another one. And then they asked, like, what behaviors are harmful? What behaviors are helpful? And they were like, well, the shunning, harassing, and condemning us is probably harmful. The anti-gay propaganda you subject us to, the hate speech, that's problematic. But people were trying to be, like, proactive. They're like, oh, education's good. Using the correct pronouns is good. Being able to speak openly and compassionately would be good. So they're trying to pull out positives that they could work towards. One thing that kind of shocked me that someone even said it was someone said, oh, they should apologize and take accountability for the suicides.
They won't do that.
They never would. I don't believe so. Would it be huge? Absolutely. That's like when you get the Catholic Church to apologize for, like, things they did in, like, the 70s. And you're just like, holy shit, they actually said it. They admitted to it.
As that brother said in that video you were talking about, he thinks it's a good idea that they all just knock themselves out.
Yeah. But even another thing that was harmful was it was even talking about adults gossiping about, like, LGBTQ teens made it into the survey, which I think is, again, just another thing that's just so toxic, and in any other, like, environment, like an ecclesia or a school, would be, like, dealt with, but instead it's, like, socially rewarded in the Christadelphians. And even thinking about it more with how it kind of stunts your development being in a high control group, I feel like there's also not the emotional maturity among a lot of the members, and so it feels more like a high school lunchroom than, like, this religious community sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I've heard so much gossip or just so much judgment and talking about what other people are doing. And I feel like it's a way for them to feel better about themselves. Like,
it probably reestablishes their place in the hierarchy. Like, oh, I'm above that person, I'm below that person.
Yeah. I realized that throughout my life, I was doing that too. Like, I have really struggled to get the judgment out.
Some people have talked about that in the group. I know you're not alone. Some people have realized that mentality was so ingrained in them and they had to, like, challenge it.
Yeah, because you feel like you need to get a leg up always. You're like, maybe I felt that way as a female in Christadelphian, or as a girl, but I felt like I needed to be like, hey, I matter.
Yeah, makes sense. But talking about the helpful things again, other suggestions that I heard that I loved was remove the homophobic speakers from the speaking rosters.
Yes.
You know, make it clear that the people who are intolerant will not be tolerated, instead of always putting it on the victims, where it's like, if you don't like it, leave. I think benching the powerful men especially would get people to shut up real quick once they're facing consequences, instead of always being the one doling it out and, wielding the power from the platform. And it would flip the situation, so the people that are, cruel and unchristlike are the ones feeling pressure to leave if they don't like it, instead of the vulnerable people being bullied out of the ecclesia. I think education, like I said before, dismantling the gender roles. There was some other interesting comments. One person said that they should give them a lecture just like they lecture on the Bible, but instead make it on equal rights, current events, in the LGBTQ community. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But that's a nice daydream. I also think if just like more Christadelphians spoke up, like the ones that are kind-hearted and generally like actually care about other people and don't want people committing suicide, like that would help if they weren't silent. Because I feel like if you are still silent, then you're getting into complicity and maintaining the status quo.
If you're silent, you're just as bad as those that are saying it out loud.
Right? You're not helping anyone.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on what they would have to do to make their community safe, or what they could do?
Strip it down and start again.
Burn it.
Fair
Start
enough.
over. I love the suggestion of removing homophobic speakers, or doing anything like.
And it would be easy to do.
Like, hey, you're doing something wrong. It would be hypocritical for you to talk about this, or talk to the congregation at all. But yeah, I don't see them doing that for anything. So, fun old story at my old ecclesia. A known rapist was up on Sunday talking. They knew about it that week.
Yeah. And so by putting him up there, I would say that they're condoning it. They're giving him power and influence over everyone. They're keeping him in good standing. And they have the procedures in place to disfellowship. We have seen that. They could easily get rid of him. They could easily shame him. They could easily just like suspend, where they're just like, you can't do this until you apologize, until you go to counseling, like whatever, like some sort of consequences. But instead they're like, nah, you're good. Keep telling us how to live our lives and how to be godly or whatever. I'm like, what the?
There's a similar story to that in New South Wales as well. On the Central Coast, so that's like an hour and a half from Sydney, and a well-known, very like influential brother was molesting and all of the other things to young girls, like teenagers. He got kicked out for a little bit, never got disfellowshipped. He was allowed to eventually come back and attend Bible school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no thanks. Yeah. No thanks.
I saw him at one Bible school and I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, they're not protecting their members with that shit.
No, but it was all the girls who, were bad-mouthed, and like some moved interstate to get away from the stories.
I believe it, yeah.
Where's the justice for the victims? There is none, because, well, the men just get away with it because the powerful men are the problem.
Yep. And the system rewards them, and it's their peers who are in charge of enforcing many punishments on anyone. They keep punishing the victims and rewarding the other abusers. Yeah. They're all complicit. Yeah.
But if you're a lesbian, you get kicked out straight away.
Yeah. Honestly, you need to get rid of the arranging board and make it different.
Mixed.
You need to have women on there. You need to have all ages on there, not just old white men.
Yes, in blue suits.
Yeah, especially with you guys in Australia.
We didn't have the blue suits, but yeah.
I want a woman in a muumuu up there.
In a martini.
Yeah. That's the blood of Christ, actually.
Jesus wore a dress, so why can't they?
Yeah.
Yes, good point. Like, are we...
Our presentation of gender is all made up with our traditions and cultures, so who's right?
Jesus had a beard, why don't they?
Exactly.
That's another
John
one
Thomas,
that's really
too.
weird.
Don't forget his
Oh,
beard.
yeah.
That's true.
I've probably got a better beard than what some of them do,
Oh, boy. Well, while you were speaking about victims, that actually, I had pulled a note about something too, where one person wrote that 3 people in a 3-year period committed suicide, but the messaging around it was that those people were weak. Those people were sinners.
Oh my
And
God.
so these people were witnessing rampant suicide and like a severe mental health crisis in their community. And the response from their community was victim blaming, no curiosity as to what was going on, and no initiative to do anything to support other vulnerable people or the families, I also imagine, who are grieving and dealing with all of the fallout of that.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, so that was pretty shocking. Again, it's all anonymous, so I don't know where it was, but 3 people in a 3-year period seems
That's so
alarmingly
scary.
high.
That's a lot.
Like if that was happening in like a family, I would not have any siblings left in 3 years. Like that's a lot. It's too much. It's too much. Anyone should have stepped in and been like, hey, this is a problem. What can we do? The fact that they wouldn't even acknowledge that it was a problem or their role in it is why I really understand where you guys are coming from with burn it down.
Yeah.
How do you fix that when they do not give a shit that they're causing people to kill themselves? Like, what do you do?
Burn it down.
Yeah. It's a big task for the people who want to do it. There are, like I said, there's Andrew with the Gay Christadelphians. There are a few people that want to change it. That's a big project. I don't know. And I don't know if they would plan, if they can make it happen. One thing I just briefly mentioned, which is patterns, was just, and I think even Keturah, you mentioned it in your view, is just the culty vibe of it with the us versus them. And so queerness, they're presenting now, from what I'm seeing, as like a new thing, this worldly thing. And we need to be devoted to God as opposed to these worldly influences, which they also include as like human rights. So worldly. So it just seems like another tool where they use it as like fear mongering. Like, don't even try to think about treating people well. That's just the world being evil. It's trying to deceive you and pull you into darkness.
How dare everyone have the same rights?
Yeah. So it just seems like they're using homosexuality and their views on it to push further fear and portray and dehumanize them in order to continue to get power over people and manipulate them. So it was just really sad to see their comments there. Another thought on the us versus them was that it seems like if they're going to treat queer people better, they also need to treat non-Christadelphians better. Because again, they're like, oh, those Catholics, oh, those Mormons don't know anything, oh, those Jehovah's Witnesses are wrong about everything, they don't have the truth. And I've also heard many stories of racism in the Facebook group. And so if they can't tolerate anyone with a different religion, they can't often tolerate people of different races, how are they going to be more accepting of people with different sexualities either? It's all about conformity. It's all about us versus them. So I think, again, it comes to a major cultural shift of, can you get them to just start seeing the humanity in other people and other groups and seeing the commonalities instead of continuing to drive that wedge of us versus them?
They will always have a us versus them.
Yeah, they can't get rid of that. I think it's...
Yeah, that's what gives them their identity. In many ways, I think.
Because they get to feel special. They get to feel like the chosen ones.
They have the truth and no one else has it. We're so fortunate. Stay here. Keep the doctrine pure.
It's a superiority complex.
Yeah. Well, especially when they start being like, I speak for Jesus and God. I'm going to say you're not going to be in the kingdom. I'm going to say God feels this. And I'm like, whoa, this guy's got pride. He's like, those people are talking about pride. They must be evil. And I'm like, who has the pride here, actually?
Yeah.
I also think a huge thing that I would want to see is just seeing happy queer people who are out and safe. Like, start with the people you have. Because they're like, oh yeah, like just talk to that straight guy and he'll help you with your problems. And I'm like, no, I feel like I would just need to see representation. I need to see people who can wear a rainbow dress and have everyone be like, oh, nice dress, as opposed to be like, what are you, gay?
It's so dumb. It's so juvenile.
Like, They just need a baseline of respect.
If they whinged about a rainbow umbrella, imagine if someone turned up in rainbow clothing.
Okay, I have a
Well,
task
I would
for
not be
you.
allowed.
Someone needs to wear a rainbow outfit to meeting and send me a picture, please. And tell me how it goes. Please. Tell me how many responses are about God's rainbow and like the flood and shit, and how many are about, what are you, gay? Kind of attitude, where people are provoking you and asking if you're gay and making it a problem. Because I would be curious to know, as a social experiment, if we could get people in a ton of different ecclesias to do that, that'd be fascinating.
I'm not going back in.
Not you, the Christadelphians. They're the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, they can be the sacrifice.
In good standing needs to report back.
I don't want to put anyone through that.
Like the men can wear a rainbow tie. And no, they have a perfect out. All they have to do is be like, oh, I was thinking about the flood and I was going to talk about Noah in my exhortation today. It was a theme and he's talking about Noah. It's an exhortation, guys. Come on, it's a promise of God. I'm wearing it on my heart. Like, so the guys wear a rainbow tie. Women, it can be small. Women wear something, rainbow earrings, rainbow head covering. Head covering. And then report back, please. This is for science.
Yeah, it's for science. But then when they say, are you gay? And it's be like, well, is the rainbow gods or the gays?
That's the line. That's what they have to say. This is a sample. How many Christadelphians are going to confess that they've given the rainbow to the gays? That's what we're finding out here. Is it gods or is it the gays?
Because history shows they've given it to the gays.
Historically, I'm hearing that they gave it all to the gays. So they need to stop complaining when they gave it over so freely. Keturah's just giggling in the corner. And then I did want to loop back to what I said at the beginning, because I just wanted to highlight that being straight is not a cultural requirement, because it's not in the BASF. and it's not a question I was asked when they were asking if I was eligible for baptism. I went through that whole test. So if it is required that their members have to be straight and they have to be cisgender, why is it not in their statement of faith? And why is it not part of the pre-baptismal interview?
Yeah.
This is on you when you've got all these gay members and you're like, oh, that's a problem, you're gay. I'm like, excuse me, you said I was a member. I got baptized. What the fuck? I did everything. I agreed to your statement of faith. I was like, yeah, I'll be amended. Sure, whatever that means. None of us read that probably before we got baptized. Statement of faith. Okay, so like, if this is so important, why aren't you screening for it? Like when kids turn 14, be like, do you have sexual urges? All right, just stop attending. We're not going to waste time educating you at this point. Yeah. Just stay home if you're gay, okay? Like, why are we putting them through Sunday school at that point and making them get baptized if you don't want them as adults?
And if you don't care if they off themselves.
Yeah, if you don't care if they die, just leave your kid at home.
Why don't you just let that poor kid alone?
Yeah, just give, they might be better off living with their aunt or something else. Just foster home would probably be safer than with family who doesn't care if they live or die.
Yeah.
Also, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but what does it say about them if they have this one life-saving, true message of the Bible? This is the truth. It will save your life, give you eternal life forever. They're the ones pushing people out and being like, no, you can't have it. Like, is God going to be happy with them? Is God going to reward them in the kingdom when he's like, oh, you caused 3 people in 3 years to kill themselves, sir, from what you said at the platform? And how you guys treated these people. Do you think God's really going to reward these people and be like, yeah, good job making sure that you pushed people away from my flock? And again, I don't believe in God, but in this scenario where God exists, the kingdom happens, Christadelphians are now held accountable. How do we see this playing out? 5 to 10% of the population might be gay. Across the world, they've got 50,000 Christadelphians. You've got a good amount who are going to be queer.
Well, it says, do not judge unless you want to be judged the same way. So
no one gets into the kingdom.
If they want to judge us and kick us out, so what they're saying is they'll be kicked out as well.
So no one goes to the kingdom. That's the final result, was we kick each other out.
The ones who got kicked out get to stay, and the ones who did the kicking aren't allowed.
Well, they said that there's no swearing in the kingdom, so I'm not going to.
Oh, I'm out. I'm out.
Like, I
Can't do that.
No. So the last few things I want to grab is just comments that I think were worth highlighting from the report. I'm just going to do rapid fire at this point. Stop saying gay is an abomination. I don't think their beliefs allow support. Preaching lifelong abstinence is not support. The damaging behavior starts with enforcing gender roles.
Yes.
The wife being subservient to the husband stuff, it's trans exclusionary and created misogynistic behavior. Sitting there being told that you're born wrong, that your brain chemistry is wrong from people who have no idea what they're even talking about, from people who have been born and raised bigoted, gives you absolutely no reason to stay. I was told at the age of 14 that my religious journey was pointless because gay people would never get into the kingdom.
Oh.
Whoa.
At 14, get the fuck
Wow.
out, is what they said.
Oh my God. Wow.
Who are they to judge? They tell you God can only judge us, yet they judge everyone different to themselves. I can't see how they would ever in all caps, support queer folks since they see them as the scum of the earth. If Jesus could be friends with prostitutes, tax collectors, and sinners, then we should all have more LGBTQ plus friends, not less. Yeah. Stop using the Bible as a reason to abuse, reject, and vilify people. Sweeping statements are made about the LGBTQ plus group from people who have no real life practical experience of the issues. They seem completely unaware of the damage they could be inflicting to others. They can't even agree with unamended or amended because it's against their belief system. And that's the last of the comments that I wanted to pull out that really stuck out to me as I was reading, where I was like, yeah, they're right. Or in some cases, I was like, wow, that's terrible. So I thought it was an interesting report. Again, I thought the survey was interesting. I think actually getting some glimpse into the voices of queer people who were in or were at the time of this report. It's been a few years. I'm guessing more have left since then. But of people who were in or are in the Christadelphians was eye-opening. They have a lot of problems. They have a ton of barriers in their way towards getting anywhere towards equality. I mean, just reaching tolerance feels like a huge reach that would be out of their grasp.
Do they know how to spell it?
Yeah, it's just, and is there really going to be the drive to actually do anything about this? Like I said, it's been like 3 years now and nothing has seemed to happen as a follow-up to this.
I'm not shocked because it feels like there's never drive. Drive doesn't exist in Christadelphia. There's no ambition, and then there's especially no there's apathy, I feel, towards just about any subject.
Well, especially with the kingdom theology, I think it's always, don't worry about this world. God will take care of it. Or Jesus will take care of it when he comes, and God will make the earth perfect. So don't worry about it. They'll fix it. Not our problem. So there's no initiative there. It's like, oh, don't worry about this world. Don't worry about this life. Don't worry about these problems. It'll all be resolved by someone else. It doesn't have to be us. Jesus will deal with it.
Yeah. So you can just sit on the sidelines and be silent and not help. Not try to make the world better.
Yes. Do not feel obligated to do anything. Let people suffer in silence. Let people kill themselves. Not your problem. That's God's problem. That's Jesus'
exactly.
problem. One little comment I have that's separate was, and I found it in my notes when I was getting ready for this episode, was one article I came across in the Tidings from 2020 was a book review on why churches are dying in America. And one of the first reason I think it was that they gave was that dying or dead churches resist change. And what was interesting was the brother in the YouTube video was so proud of the fact that he was resisting the influences of the world with those dangerous views on, human rights and treating people well. And early on in the presentation, he actually had a whole section where he was bashing other religions. I think it was specifically the Catholics in that part, who had moved towards views of being more affirming to queer people. And so he's like, oh, that's so bad that they're changing. That's so evil. But it's interesting that this book that some Christadelphian has read, again, I think this one was actually written by someone I used to go to a meeting with. I was like, hey, I know that name. It was saying that this stubbornness and inability to change may actually be their downfall. And honestly, this survey seems to indicate that their stance on this subject has already pushed a huge number of people to leave or to make plans to leave, because a number of people said they were planning to leave but hadn't yet. And they'll complain about losing members, but at the same time, they don't want to talk about it. There's avoidance around this topic. There's a resistance to change in every level of their organization, whether it's gender roles or just respect and culture. But it seems like they are choosing to keep complaining about losing members, keep treating people poorly, keep driving vulnerable youth to suicide, keep breaking apart families by teaching bigotry that causes them to push away family members that they could have a loving relationship with if they chose to be kind and accepting and affirming. So it was very interesting because they're sealing their own fate there potentially, according to what the research shows. You can have your doctrine, you can keep it pure, but you're going to be left behind potentially.
Yeah, we see the at least the ecclesias that I know shrinking and shrinking. My old ecclesia,
yeah, a lot are
smaller.
closing. One in my state, New Jersey, closed this past year, and I think I heard about another one or two in the Facebook group of ones that have been closing the last year or two. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll have a lot more mosques around. That's what our old ecclesia became when they sold it.
Oh,
and someone else said that too.
Yeah, that's what my one did too. The one I grew up in.
A lot more mosques every time a Christadelphian ecclesia comes out.
I want a satanic temple.
Oh, that would be a good one.
That would be the best.
Yeah.
Make me chuckle.
There was also that, I think I sent you the screenshot of that book. It wasn't written by a Christadelphian, but a Christadelphian read it, and he kept saying about how being gay, lesbian, bi, and everything was a challenge, and, you know, it was chosen.
If it was give you more than you could handle, kind of thing. Huh? Yeah.
I can't remember what else he said, but yeah, pretty much us being the way we are is a challenge, and, you know, it's hard for us to live life this way because it's not normal, and we need the help to get back.
It seems like it was written by a straight man, because I remember reading, I think it was an article you had sent me. I did read through that. I totally forgot to add any notes on that to this. I'm sorry, but it was interesting. I did read through it, but it seemed very tone deaf to me from what I remember, and it was kind of ominous because they're like, he wanted to read this book written by someone in another church and like faith about how you should handle queer members. And it was, again, from what I remember, it was, don't be affirming, tell them to be celibate, but still be nice to them kind of vibes again. And they're like, oh, well, we need to know this so we know how to preach to the youth. And they were talking about like how they were involved with like the youth summits and stuff as a Christadelphian. And I was like, oh no. Yeah. And I was like, seriously, just read the testimonial from Andrew at the Gay Christadelphians website or Press On Journal, and you will see that is really harmful if you actually talk to people who experienced it. But instead he's like, oh, I read this book, and he's talking about how he stopped being gay or stopped acting on it, and he was fine, and he loved it, and he's happy now that he's in super self-denial and self-gaslighting. Like, it's not I want a psychologist to tell us that he's okay. Like,
it's like you kind of just want to reach through your phone and punch the author and the person who did the book review and go like, wake up to yourself. What are you talking about?
It's just another straight person being like, I should be able to tell gay people how to live their lives. And I'm like, in what fucking world? No. That's not your job to tell someone how to live their life.
You're choosing a challenge to live with. Like, why would you choose that? It's like, if it was a choice, I think everyone should choose it.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
I did like that the survey report specifically, they said it is not a choice. And I don't know if they said it in exactly those, but it seemed pretty clear that they said that. Going back
they were kind of going back and forth with how proactive and accepting they were. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least they were there. They tried. Like, the science says this, and they did try to push that, which I really appreciated.
I think they were trying to debunk some of the opposition points that they get.
They were trying, and that was good, whether it was successful or not. But yeah, why would you want to go through the trauma of having your family reject you? Why would you choose that?
No one would choose that.
Yeah.
And honestly, that YouTube video came out the following year, so I almost wonder if that was backlash for this survey. Because this is 2023, that was 2024 it came out.
Yeah, I would say that was backlash.
That's my guess. Yeah. So I think that was the last of my 14 pages of notes. Oh, wait, I have one more fucking thing. I have one more thing.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, Bec is going to love this especially. You just wait. So I've said on the podcast before that I don't think John Thomas and Robert Roberts were gay. And I still stand by Robert Roberts being straight as an arrow. He was obsessed with his wife, Jane. However, I have one thing I want to share with you and ask your opinion on. When you read about John Thomas and read things by John Thomas, it's almost like women and his wife barely exist. He's usually living with a man, often a married man, but most of his interactions with people are just him talking to different men, him spending time with men, him traveling with men. And he had a huge ego, so this may relate to him potentially being narcissistic, sexist, those delightful qualities that I believe he had. But there's one quote from his wife after he died, and this is one of the only things that Christadelphians literally document her as ever saying. It's as if she only spoke these words. So these are important, and they could be interpreted a few ways. Ellen Thomas once said, quote, "The doctor belongs to the public and was not much of a woman's man," unquote. And I'm just really curious as to what Ellen was implying here. Because I understand the first part, she made personal sacrifices so he could get the attention and notoriety that he wanted from his religious followers. He was a man of the public. But I'm confused by the second part, which was not necessary to make the first point, he's
a man's
relevant.
man.
Because she said, it was not much of a woman's man. And so I was like, okay, so either he was a man who was very kind and supportive to women, which no, he wasn't. No. He was sexist as fuck. Remember, just think about him with the midwife. Or it could be a reference to more of like the modern term, ladies' man. So was she saying that he was not a charismatic man who wanted to charm and flirt with and seduce women? So I feel like first, it could be that he's a sexist ass who just would rather be out preaching and hanging with the boys.
Yep.
But what's crazy is she didn't say he wasn't a family man. She specifically said he was not a woman's man. And I feel like if you're saying he wasn't a family man, you would acknowledge that both you and your daughter, because he had a daughter, made the sacrifice and that dad was out and about preaching and that was his thing. Second option, I think, he's disinterested in sex. Maybe he's on the asexual side of the spectrum. But he did have a daughter many years into his marriage, so it wasn't like they had sex once and then were like asexual. Like they definitely were having sex during their marriage in order to have a baby somewhere, like years after getting married. Third option, closeted, bisexual, preferred men. Like that seems to be the most logical explanation here for Ellen's quote. And it's just this one quote. It's just half of it. And I'm just like, wait a second. Was John Thomas gay?
Yes.
It's entirely
possible.
He could have been 70-30.
Right? And that would really change things around for Christadelphians, wouldn't it, if their boy was gay?
They'd have to throw out every Elpis Israel book ever written.
Burn them. Let the ghost of John Thomas burn them.
I can absolutely see him being a closeted gay man.
Yes.
I can see it.
And I think that even that was a while ago.
It was hundreds of years ago that he was alive, yes.
Yeah, culture was definitely
it would have been very
not
different.
As much as different in ancient times, but he probably didn't even really know. Nobody had the right words to talk of. She said this kind of confusing thing.
Yeah.
But also women weren't important. Of course he's going to preach to the men and then the men take their wives.
Well, that's the thing was this so much just sexism coming out here?
I think it's a bit of both.
It very well could be. Very well could be.
I'm gonna think it's the latter just to have a good laugh.
Just to help you feel better at the end of this really bleak conversation. Yeah, John Thomas was not much of a woman's man. That's what we know. Not
the creator
a
of
woman's
Christadelphia was a closeted gay.
Yes, we cracked it. That's what it is.
So
That's
just leave
why-
our listeners with that.
That's why all the Christadelphians hate the gays, because they know deep down John Thomas was gay.
Yes.
They've got a complex. They should see a therapist about that.
Yes.
All right, that is truly the end. I finally got to the last page of my 20 pages of notes.
Nice.
I'm so tired in so many ways.
I have 12 pages of notes.
Do we have any final comments? Anything we missed that you really want to share today?
Paul's gay, but you
know. Paul and John Thomas.
Yeah,
gay.
Paul and John Thomas gay. Which, in saying that, even though Robert Roberts was straight, the fact that he was so obsessed with John Thomas and his beard,
it was not a healthy.
Gives vibes.
Yeah, I mean,
He cut off a lock of his beard or something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he cut off the whole beard. Yeah, he just cut it off after he was dead for several weeks. He cut off the corpse.
Yeah.
He opened up the casket and brought scissors to the funeral. So at the funeral, he could cut it off in front of everybody and take it home as a memento.
I really hope that's framed somewhere and it's a family heirloom.
I really hope that it's somewhere in Australia, like in a Christmas ornament on someone's Christmas tree. Like it's like a locket in like their like bank deposit box. It's like, that's granddad's heirloom. Like, it's gotta be somewhere. I can't believe that information is
like
lost.
A gay icon thing now. It's like or what is it? Relic. It's a gay relic if he's really
it would be a gay relic.
Yeah.
Should have a pilgrimage to find it. I don't think we should do a metal detector over the grave, see if it's in like a gold locket or something. You do like Earth radar to see what's in there.
Oh,
like what Robert Roberts was buried.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
it's like a sarcophagus and it's got all the things with him and there's a jar of hair.
I want to know if there's a jar of hair.
Just a jar, like a pickle jar.
No one knows, so it could be anything.
Fill the jar with like wax or something so then it doesn't disintegrate. So
yeah, I think the hair would have broken down by now unless it was really well maintained. Like maybe it's like how they put snakes in that liquid and they preserve them forever.
Yeah, they do that with John Thomas's beard.
Stored it in formaldehyde. All right, I think we've gone off topic. That is time to wrap up before at least me and Keturah are tired and delirious, I think, at this point. Bec's just having a grand old time over there.
I am having a great time.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
My afternoon is filled with happiness.
I sure hope so. This was very fun. This is very interesting. And thank you both for coming on today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your dedication to sticking out through this whole episode. Thank you for your comments and stories and tears. This has been a good one. I think it's time to wrap up. I hope that this is a useful episode. We'll see if anything comes of it, just like with this survey. But regardless, I had a great time. I think we put out some great information. I hope it's interesting for people and provides just a new perspective on a number of different things, especially since our voices and perspectives often haven't been heard and still aren't heard very much. But we have a lot of relevant experience on the topic to discuss. So thank you for everyone who did tune in and listen to the whole thing. And is especially to those who are supportive and empathetic to the LGBT plus community. The world really needs it right now, and we do appreciate it. And to all of our LGBTQ plus people in our community, love you, welcome, please stay here. You are now in a better space with us, and I hope that you're in a better space in your personal lives. So that's all for today's episode. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
That's all for today's episode. As always, I appreciate you all for listening. And if you want to show your appreciation,
Feel free to leave a review, like our posts on the podcast Facebook or Instagram, or share this episode with a friend. I also love hearing from you, so you can always send me a message or send an email to lifeafterleavingpodcast@gmail.com. Bye, everyone.